So my name's Herb Sutter. I've been at CitSec for a little over a year now and joined these fine fellows. And I want to talk not about any particular feature, because there's talks about those, and some of them are mine. But they've done a great job of, I hope, selling you on C++26 if you weren't sold already. But let me just talk about two things real briefly. C++'s trajectory and future in a few sentences, and why C++26 is closer than you may think. And by closer, I mean to your real world production use than you may think. C++'s trajectory. Is C++ over the past 3 years, in a world of AI and security issues and other languages growing, is C++ by total number of developers worldwide growing, roughly stable, or shrinking? How many for growing? How many for roughly stable? How many for shrinking? Don't be shy. Don't be a shrinking violet. Yep. Those of you who voted in the last two categories have not read my year-end blog post. So please go for the data and look at my year-end blog post. Or if you're in Belgium, Monday next, I'll be showing it on screen at BECPP. The short version is, of the top 7 languages or so JavaScript, Java, Python, C++ is number 4, and a few others. Over the last 3 years, C++ has been the fastest percentage growth programming language in terms of number of developers in the world. To put it in context, there are more C++ developers worldwide today, including pro and non-pro, professional and also hobbyist and student, than there were in the number 1 language just 4 years ago. It is growing gangbusters. So see my blog post for the details. That's /data. It's also consistent with IDC, JetBrains, and other sources. But why? Because C++ does one thing really exceptionally well, and Bjarne likes to call it efficient abstraction. And I agree with that. I'm gonna offer maybe a different way of looking at it. C++ lets us control space and time. Space, where objects are laid out, in what order, and how much space they take. Time, that we don't get GC pauses, how long things take. And that control over space and time is a good way to think about being close to the machine and making efficient use of the machine. In fact, the 2 largest growing languages of the top 10 were C++ and Rust, and C grew very well too in the last 3 years. It is no coincidence that those are the 3 languages whose value proposition is making the most out of hardware, performance per watt. That is no accident, and that matters in finance a whole lot, because control over space and time means making the trade. So C++'s trajectory is doing fine. Let's talk about C++26. How many of you, when you heard about C++26, including all these wonderful things that were just described, thought maybe in the back of your mind or maybe in the front of your mind that that's very nice, but when will I ever get to use C++26? Do you know how long it took my company to allow me to use 17 and 20? How many of you thought that? More hands, right? I think very highly of those standards. C++11, 14, 17, 20, 23. I chaired the committee during the development of those standards and 26. So I am not dissing them at all. But there were tons of great reasons to adopt C++11. But now when you look at probably the biggest feature-wise standard that we've shipped since then, which was C++20, big standard in terms of like lots of major features landing, concepts, coroutines, modules. C++, wait for it, you're anticipating correctly. Yet C++20, how many of you are allowed to use C++20 in production? How many of you are not right now on your current team yet? So about 60-40. And yet here we are in 2026. So what hope is there for using C++26, maybe in 6 years, right? No. Not to put too fine a point on it, and again, I really think C++20 was a great release, but let's look at those 3 major features. Modules still don't work. Period. At scale. They do in small examples on some compilers. Coroutines. are not actually coroutines. They're a toolkit for language features to bolt together your own coroutines, and you can't even co-await a stood future. There's no integration with the standard library. Yes, we've just recently finally added at least a generator, so we got something. But it's more of a toolkit. Most people don't use it directly. They may use libraries that use it, but most people don't use it. Concepts, great feature. Thank you, Bjarne, Gabby, and those who worked on it. And most of you have never written a concept, nor will you, most of the time, because they're for library writers, and then we all benefit from them. But you look at these major features, where is the user demand to get C++20 to get those features? So when you look at, hey, it's taken me this long to be allowed to use C++20, and you say, what hope is there for 26? Everybody is going to be breaking down the door to get reflection and the safety improvements in C++26. We will not wait. Contracts and reflection appear to be shipping in GCC this spring. And that shows you the accelerated timeline that we're on. When we shipped C++11, we shipped a release people wanted and couldn't wait to get, even though it had been a decade since we'd shipped something, and they were getting used to C++ evolving again, and people adopted it quickly. I expect the same thing to happen with 26. So just because you've had to wait to use C++20, and 40% of you 6 years later still haven't used it, I don't think you'll have that much longer to wait, because people will be breaking down the doors. It will be iPhone waiting lists around the corner as people are waiting for the doors to open to get access to the cool features that really matter and that we can use today in C++26. That's what I'm looking forward to. That said, shall we start a panel? All right, thank you.